Do you need variety on a long-term carnivore diet, or is it okay to just eat red meat for an extended period of time? Hi, I'm Dr. Zaldivar, and I was featured on the first ever TV show on the carnivore diet called Reverse TV series. I also quit my nutrition professor job at the University of Miami and elsewhere so I could focus on reaching a wider audience online. I also managed to lose 30 pounds and maintain that, and a large part of that came from eating a carnivore diet. So let's dive right in. If we just look at the different B vitamins in different types of meat, we can very clearly see how some meats are very poor in certain B vitamins, whereas other meats can be very rich sources of those B vitamins. So after we go over some of the main ones that I want to cover, you will most likely feel that maybe it's a good idea to rotate. I personally rotate between beef, chicken, turkey, and pork. But before we dive in, I also want to reassure those of you who are feeling great on a Lion diet that if you're feeling your best, then maybe you're just having intolerances or food sensitivities to other types of meat, and that's completely fine, and you shouldn't freak out too much. But maybe you could include some supplementation or run some blood tests to make sure you're not low in any major B vitamins. The reason I want to talk about B vitamins is because they are water soluble, meaning we cannot really store them in the body. So if we're not consistently consuming them, we very quickly can develop a marginal deficiency in those vitamins. All water-soluble vitamins, if we don't consume them consistently, we can develop this marginal deficiency within as little as 2 to 4 weeks. Let's start with red meat specifically because of its powerhouse content of vitamin B12 or cobalamin. 1 3.5 ounce portion of red meat is going to give you 72% of the daily value of B12. That is the richest food source of B12 on a carnivore diet. So if you compare that to chicken, turkey, or pork, red meat is always going to come number 1 in vitamin B12. It's also pretty high in vitamin B3. So 1 3.5 ounce or 100 gram serving of beef or steak is going to give you 49% of the daily value of vitamin B3 or niacin. This is a great news, especially for people who have struggled or currently are struggling with substance abuse and cravings for substances such as foods, or drugs or alcohol. Did you know that Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, after he discovered the work of Abraham Hoffer and how vitamin B3 or niacin can completely cure cravings for people who have quit alcohol but are still struggling with cravings for alcohol, he stated that he wanted to be better known for his work on vitamin B3 and sharing how powerful vitamin B3 or niacin is when it comes to alcoholism. He wanted to be known for that way more than being known as the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. While promoting Alcoholics Anonymous in 1958, Bill, the founder, attended a medical conference where he encountered Dr. Abraham Hoffer and he learned about Dr. Hoffer's research on niacin therapy. Intrigued, Bill started taking 1,000 milligrams of niacin after meals. With the addition of niacin, Bill was able to completely overcome his alcohol cravings and the mood symptoms that had persisted since becoming sober. Then he tried this therapy on other people. So in 1965, he conducted a case series on 30 Alcoholics Anonymous members that, despite being sober, were still struggling with cravings, and he put them all on niacin, and 10 of them completely cured the cravings within the first month, and then everybody, so the remaining 20, also completely cured their cravings by the second month of the niacin therapy. He noted, and I'm going to quote, that the patients showed prompt and usually spectacular recovery from sometimes long-standing depression, exhaustion, heavy tension, and even troublesome paranoid behavior. So that's how powerful vitamin B3 is for the brain. So if you're particularly intrigued by the carnivore diet for mental health or eating disorders or addictions and cravings, vitamin B3 is really a very, very important nutrient to pay attention to and make sure you're getting enough of every single day, because again, it is a water-soluble vitamin. We cannot store that on our frame. We have to consistently get enough of it every single day. How much niacin do you need per day? For adult men who are 19 plus years, they require 16 milligrams niacin equivalent. What's a niacin equivalent? It's the amount of niacin you would get directly from food, but also if you're getting enough tryptophan, which is a kind of protein found in meat, tryptophan can be converted into niacin by the body. So when we say niacin equivalent, it means the total amount of niacin we're getting, not just from the food, but also from amino acids, from protein we're eating that can then be converted into niacin. how much niacin we're getting and how much tryptophan we're getting together give us the total amount of niacin equivalent we're getting for the day. So for men who are 19 and above, they require 16 milligrams niacin equivalents. For women 19 and above, we require 14 milligrams of niacin equivalent per day. This is where poultry shines. Chicken and turkey really have the highest amount of niacin, and no, you would be shocked. It's not in the dark meat, it's actually in the lean parts of the chicken and the poultry. So if you look at chicken breast, 1 3.5 ounce or 100 gram serving of chicken breast is going to give you 86% of the daily value for niacin, and turkey breast 3.5 ounces is going to give you 74% of the daily value of niacin. So this is just something to think about, because I know generally speaking as carnivores we tend to gravitate to the fattier portions of meat, and that's fantastic, but maybe it's a good idea to sometimes also look at the leaner cuts of meat and maybe try to include a little bit of that. We can add some tallow to them to make them tastier, but it's a good idea to remember that our ancestors didn't always have access to the fattiest animals all the time. We would just hunt whatever we could get our hands on, and a lot of animals out in the wild were also fending for food, and they didn't always have tons and tons of calories, so they weren't always the fattiest animals around. So just something to think about, historically speaking, evolutionarily speaking, that maybe there is something to that. I'm going to also shine a light on pyridoxine or vitamin B6, which is critically important to create those brain chemicals like dopamine that keep us happy and keep cravings at bay. You can see also turkey breast really shines there. So 3.5 ounce of turkey breast is going to give you almost half of what you need in terms of vitamin B6 or pyridoxine. And when it comes to pork, should we make an effort to include pork? There might be a good argument to include pork given that it is such a powerhouse in terms of its content of vitamin B1 or thiamine, especially if you've struggled with gut health issues. Vitamin B1 or thiamine might be the root cause for your SIBO, reduced gut motility, vagus nerve dysfunction, and even candida overgrowth. Some studies have shown that simply taking thiamine or vitamin B1 can change the type of bacteria that live in our gut towards a more beneficial type of bacteria that's going to give us more of the short-chain fatty acids or butyrate. Also, it's important to note that vitamin B1 or thiamine is needed to create acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is that neurotransmitter that allows the motility of the gut to take place. And so if you're deficient in vitamin B1, you can't make enough acetylcholine, your gut is not going to have as fast of a motility or a proper gut motility function, which can lead to overgrowth of bacteria and dysbiosis and an imbalance in good to bad bacteria. All of these things can also lead to leaky gut. Once you have an imbalance in your gut bacteria because of poor gut motility, now you have leaky gut or intestinal permeability, where things that are unable to cross into your blood all of a sudden can now cross it, and your immune system freaks out because it's not used to seeing things that aren't supposed to cross into your blood now being able to cross over, and thus you start having inflammation, autoimmune conditions start happening, brain fog, depression, and everything can be traced back to leaky gut. Hopefully I've made a pretty strong case for why we should be paying attention to our intake of vitamin B1 or thiamine, and also this is where including pork, if we can handle it in our diet, can be a very smart strategy, because pork is the richest carnivore food source that can give us ample amounts of vitamin B1. I'm not talking here about tons and tons of bacon, because you would have to eat so much bacon and get so many extra calories and a whole lot of fat, and if you're trying to lose weight, it's just gonna make your life miserable. I'm talking here about lean pork chops or pork loins. A 3.5 ounce pork loin chop is going to give you a little over half, 55% of your daily values for thiamine per day. So what do you think? Do you think variety on a carnivore diet has helped or impaired your health? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, remember that I will send you a free copy of my guide, the 30-day Carnivore Diet Challenge Guide, when you sign up to my newsletter at drzaldivar.com/newsletter. If you're looking for one-on-one coaching, check out my packages at drzaldivar.com/coaching, and you can check out my guides at drzaldivar.com/shop, especially for the guides that can help you raise your baseline dopamine level, because that's really how I managed to lose those 30 pounds and maintain it by not only following a carnivore diet, but more importantly, importantly, in my opinion, also raising my baseline dopamine levels so that I don't have the cravings, so that I don't have that dopamine deficit that was created from a lifetime of food addiction and sugar addiction and yo-yo dieting. All right, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share this YouTube video with folks who might benefit from this kind of information. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you let me know by giving this YouTube video a thumbs up, subscribing, and hitting that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.